Yeah, fresh from sitting in the saddle of his electric car, he has arrived. KTBB owner, General Manager Paul Gleiser. And you tell me, what's on your mind, sir?
Can't wait for him to invent the electric airplane. We're sponsored by K.E. Cellars, Tyler's Old World-style boutique winery in the French Quarter on South Broadway across from the mall. Before we get started, I have an invitation. I'd like you and your significant other or best friend to join my wife Lee and me on the second excursion of the KTBB World Tour as we tour London and the English countryside this fall. We depart November 19th for 6 fabulous days. We'll see Stonehenge, Bath, Stratford-on-Avon, the Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, and a whole lot more. Our guide is Sir Robert Cowland, the same fabulous guide we had on the first KTBB World Tour trip to Italy. It's just $22.99 per person. We have room for just 24 couples, so time is of the essence. Go to ktbb.com/world tour for complete details. As Congress and now at last the President haggle over cutting a mere 2% from current fiscal year spending, House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan, Republican of Wisconsin, has unveiled a proposed budget for fiscal year 2012. That proposal would cut more than $6 billion in federal spending over 10 years. Credit Ryan with at least beginning the process of tackling the biggest threat to the survival of America since the Civil War. That is to say, give him credit for at least recognizing in a concrete way that current deficit and debt levels will ultimately lead to the fall of the United States. The numbers are truly staggering, and thus they're hard to absorb and hard to comprehend, and thus most of us just don't deal with them. After all, we've heard for decades that federal deficits would lead to ruin, and yet we are still here, and things appear on the surface at least to be more or less normal, sluggish economy notwithstanding. Into that vacuum of denial, the Democrats have already rushed with the demagoguery that has become their trademark. It's the same tired, worn-out cliches they've been using for decades. You know them. School children will go without lunch. Senior citizens will have to choose between food and medical care. Hundreds of thousands will be forced out of their homes. The environment will suffer irreparable harm. The poor will be denied food. The unemployed will have no safety net. Thousands will actually die of starvation. In other words, all of the usual twaddle. That none of these predictions have ever come true is a fact that stands unchallenged by most of the media. Thus, the Democrats are free to keep demagoguing instead of actually addressing what has become an existential threat to our survival that surpasses even Islamist terrorism. Here it is in the starkest possible terms. If you closed every civilian federal agency from the FBI to the Justice Department to the EPA, the FTC, the SEC, the Department of the Interior, and every other civilian agency and fired every civilian federal employee, the deficit this year would still be $680 billion. If you then shuttered the military and furloughed every member of all the services and shut down every U.S. military installation in the world, and if at the end of this you still had, magically, the approximately $1.4 trillion in annual federal revenue, only then would you have enough money to cover Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and interest on the debt. Between profligate borrowing and unsustainable promises in the form of entitlement spending, we have reached the point that we can no longer pay for any of the constitutionally defined functions of government. We can't even pay what it costs to defend ourselves. Republicans, particularly the freshman class of Republicans in the House, who more than any should understand why they were elected, cannot allow the Democrats to demagogue anymore. This time, Republicans must stand their ground, come what may, from the Democrats and the media. And let's don't do as we usually do and wrap the argument up in talk of our children and grandchildren. If we don't act soon, the inevitable economic cataclysm could very well come while we're still around. That's my word. What's yours? Go to youtellmetexas.com and you tell me. Let's talk red wine. It's my drink of choice. I like a glass with dinner. I enjoy a glass while visiting friends and while relaxing in the evening. I'm a red wine guy, but many of you are not such fans of red wine. For many of you, most red wines are too dry, and if that's you, I have a suggestion. K.E. Cellars has just released 2 blended red wines that both bear the same name, Bridge. Even though both have the same name, they are 2 distinctly different wines. One is a full-bodied dry red wine, the kind that I normally drink. The other is a sweeter, fruitier red. They'll be pleasing to those that might have otherwise chosen a fruity white wine or a blush. Both wines are amazing, and particularly so when you consider they're made right here in East Texas, yet stand up in blind tastings to wines from all over the world. But don't take my word. Visit KE Cellars, try both versions of Bridge, and then make your own decision. Tell them I said to put the nominal $1 tasting fee on my tab. KE Cellars, Tyler's Old World Style Boutique Winery in the French Quarter on South Broadway across from the mall, and online at KECellars.com.